It's a pleasure to be here today, and I really wanted to talk about kind of the role of government, or the lack of the role of the government and its impact on families today. You know, conservatism, I can't even say the word, sees government as a problem to overcome, an albatross upon us. I think President Reagan said it succinctly: we need to get government off our backs. But conservatives usually justify this negative view of government in the name of freedom. They conflate freedom with unregulated markets, anti-unionism, low taxes, and a rabid individualism. Without so-called government interference, people would be free to make the choices that they want. But what has this restricted view of government and the notion of freedom it embraces really meant for American families today? In one word, disaster. The "you are on your own" notion of government and freedom has meant that American families live with stagnant wages in the faces of high profits and productivity. It means that they can't get ahead, no matter how hard they try. It has meant health insecurity as fewer and fewer jobs provide health care coverage. It has meant that workers face their older years without the means to provide a pension because corporations have slashed traditional pension plans. And it has meant that half of Americans don't have the fundamental right to take a day off when they get sick without losing a job or a paycheck. It has meant parents having to forego a child's high school or college graduation or a PTA meeting because 20% of Americans don't have one personal day or vacation day. It has meant parents tag teaming their shifts to provide their children's supervision, which leads to an increased divorce rate because they can't afford childcare. It has meant families who are more stressed out in their jobs because their jobs are more and more insecure. And it has meant more families struggling just to get by because 1 out of every 3 workers makes less than it takes to provide basic self-sufficiency. All of this has been dumped on the already sagging shoulders of working families, while government has just stood there on the sidelines and done nothing. And as parents look to provide a better future for their children, it has meant coming up short. Today, it is only the wealthy who have the resources to provide their children the tools to succeed in our new economy: early childhood education, health care, good public schools, and the ability to go to college. The rest of America's children just have to do without. This is a false freedom that forces us to make false choices. Americans aren't free when they have to choose between paying the rent and providing childcare for their children. Parents aren't free when they must choose between being responsible workers and responsible family members. The elderly aren't free when they have to continue working because they don't have a pension plan. Families aren't free when they have to declare bankruptcy because they can't afford to pay their hospital bills. Mothers and fathers aren't free when they don't have the time to be with their children because they're working 2 or 3 jobs. And children certainly are not free when they can't get the basic tools to succeed and live up to their full potential. You know, we can make different choices that would ensure that workers and their families have what it takes to support themselves. We are free to choose ways that families can have time together and acquire the means to move up and take care of themselves in this new economy. But this involves a very different notion of freedom, one that presents a very different agenda that will move us closer to ensuring that American families actually can thrive. This definition of freedom eliminates the false choices we are saddled with today. This freedom involves more than just being left alone. Instead, it offers the opportunity to build healthy families and healthy communities. It actually involves an investment in people. It is a freedom that recognizes that no one can be free without the basic necessities of life, that we can't be free unless we recognize and hold dear the dignity and respect we all deserve. It is a freedom that recognizes the interconnectedness of us as human beings and the critical role that our government plays as a protector of public values. It recognizes that government is a place where we come together to solve our most pressing problems and use our resources to solve them. In the past, government actually has successfully played a role in providing the public structures upon all which we rely. As a nation, we determined that our elderly should not be impoverished or go without health care, so we created and continue to support Medicare and Social Security. We determined that all children deserve the tools to succeed, so we have public schools. And as a nation, we determined that it is in the interest of all of us to have a literate population, so we have libraries. We passed the GI Bill that gave millions of Americans the opportunity to go to college and buy their first homes. It is now time for our government to provide the same kinds of opportunity supports that families need today. Government can and must play the kind of role that it so successfully performed after World War II in creating the largest middle class in America's history. Only government can set minimum standards for wages, health coverage, health and safety, paid sick days, retirement security, and the right to organize a union that ensure that hardworking Americans have the basics of a decent life. Only government can ensure that families can be both responsible workers and family members by updating the outdated workplace practices and supports. Only government can play the pivotal role in leveraging our resources to provide workers what we need to have to succeed in our new economy and create the supports for workers and their family as they move across jobs in our new economy. And it is government which has an irreplaceable role in ensuring that all children have the tools they need to succeed to fulfill their potentials, and it is not limited only to the wealthiest amongst us. The role of government, the very role of government, is to ensure that the prosperity of our economy is broadly shared amongst all working Americans and their families, and that we create a society in which all families can thrive. The conservatives have it wrong. It's not about getting government off our backs. It's about getting government back on our sides, the sides of working families. Thank you.